Stellar Blade has been deemed an extremely controversial title from the Access media. They have been trying to attack it since last year when it initially released, and now that the PC launch has finally come around, they have tried yet again to put out the same tired narrative that the over-sexualization of fictional female characters hurts women in real life, and that you should feel uncomfortable with playing this game with NSFW mods as if you're an adult who can't make your own decisions. But of course, that means that there is another example of hypocrisy stemming up, because while they're sitting here saying that Stellar Blade is bad and they're giving it a 68, we have the same exact journalist saying that they love this brand new game that just came out where you can date tables and chairs and refrigerators. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I personally don't like to shame people for the content they want to consume. You're an adult who can make your own decisions. If you really want to play a game where you date tables and chairs and refrigerators and microwaves, you go for it. If you think you are going to have a fun time with that, I hope that you buy it and you support the developers and you do have a couple of fun hours. But when you're sitting here and trashing one game for its apparent over-sexualization of a female, and then you go into sexualizing household appliances, that just doesn't come across as very good, at least in my opinion. And of course, a ton of different outlets are doing this right now. The Gamer, PCGamer, Game Rant, they've all attacked Stellar Blade over the past year, and now they're all praising this one new title. So PCGamer is getting absolutely wrecked right now for their Stellar Blade review, which I thought that I would read really quickly because it's by Molly Taylor, the same person who had just given their thoughts and opinions on this new Date Everything game. But starting off with the Stellar Blade review, it says, Stellar Blade's opening hours are so mired by atrocious level design that I can only assume people are willingly plowing through for the sake of seeing Eve's bum jiggle around in a skin-tight suit for a bit longer. I actually think the beginning of Stellar Blade is solid. Do I think that it is the best that I've ever experienced in a game? No, but I think that it does really set the tone for the kind of the high stakes, high reward that is going on, because you are losing several characters, you are establishing brand new relationships, and ultimately, yeah, you are seeing a bit of bum jiggle, but that really isn't a bad thing. It says, do I blame them? Not necessarily, but it's a mighty tough beginning to get through before things start getting good, and they do eventually, though even after 30 hours, I still couldn't shake the feeling that it was just trying a little too hard to be Nier Automata on horny steroids. Now, of course, everything is a copy of something, and I don't think that it's bad to compare this with Nier. I think that they do have very similar tones, but they are wildly different experiences. Both very good, at least in my opinion. Now they go on to talk about how, listen, I've been in these trenches before. I've been playing Shift Up's other title, Nikke, Goddess of Victory, since 2023. I am not new to the developer's particular brand of goonery. If you are new to it, however, Stellar Blade has ass shots, jiggle physics, and barely their outfits out the wazoo. They're trying to constantly throw this in your face while ignoring what the game really is about. They do talk a little bit about the story and world building and how it's easily Stellar Blade's weakest point and lessens the impact of the plot twists. I don't think that this story was a bad one. Do I think that it is basic at times and predictable at times with characters like Adam? Yes. I do think that you can kind of tell a mile away just from some of the names who is going to be important and who isn't, but ultimately, I feel like the Access media has not given the story enough of the recognition that it deserves. They talk about how different enemies sport a variety of attack patterns, which Eve can dodge and parry, or perfect parrying sends sparks flying, accompanied by an incredibly satisfying ching sound as her sword collides with her opponent. So they do try here to actually review every single category, which I appreciate, but I do definitely think that a big problem I personally have is the fact that they started off and ended with the fact that this game has sex appeal, as if that's a problem, and in their verdict, they say it's exciting combat and a plethora of sexy costumes that can't totally save its middling story and occasionally questionable level design. I think that the level design is actually the weakest point of this game, and I don't even think that it's all that bad. But while they're sitting here talking about how it's not their favorite rendition of sexy, souped up soldier saving humankind, and how, oh, this game's got so much bum jiggle and skin tight suits, it's insane, this same exact person is sitting here saying date everything turns everyday household objects into gorgeous love interests, and now I can't look at my refrigerator the same way. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to shame anybody for wanting to play the certain games they find enjoyable, but it's the sheer fucking hypocrisy that is on full display. Oh, yeah, you can't look at a female's bottom, but you can look at your refrigerator. They talk about how they've been pretty stoked for this game for a while because they're a sucker for a quirky dating sim, which this very much is, and Date Everything boasts a pretty stellar voice cast from the likes of Felicia Day to a couple people, which I do think is cool. Like, I know the Last of Us voice cast is here too, but I just think that this comes across as kind of cringe, the way that they're simping for one game and trashing another for the same exact fucking reasons. It says it really isn't exaggerating with its name either. Putting on the glasses highlights all different sorts of household doodads I can chat up, and it's a lot. Curtains, hampers, recipe books, blankets, magnifying glasses, freaking window panes. The entire house is a smorgasbord of eligible bachelors and bachelorettes. They're all complete with vaguely punny names. The window is called Windolin, while the coffee machine, Kopi, takes her name from the Indonesian word for coffee, and designs that really do complement each one's inanimate appearance. Betty, the bed is draped in puffy, comforting looking duvets, while the door Dorian dons a necklace full of keys and a white skirt with some classic doorway paneling. So, in my opinion, is this a game I personally would be sitting here absolutely looking forward to? No, to each their own, but it's just so infuriating that Stellar Blade, a game that does have a decent story, okay level designs with fantastic character designs and like a really cool world and atmosphere, gets dinged for having sexy, but yet Date Everything is being absolutely praised for sexualizing everything. You also, of course, have the gamer who is saying that this new title, Date Everything, is absolutely fantastic and how they're so happy to become acquainted with their appliances. They think that it is fantastic. I mean, they're giving it a 5 out of fucking 5 right now. They're saying that it achieves the impossible, and oh, there's like some toxic relationships, and there's characters that are narcissistic, but there are just a really good variety of characters here. And is this, of course, going to sit well with gamers? No, because Stellar Blade is a good game that deserves a lot of credit, and, well, their hypocrisy is off the absolute charts right now. In this game, you can date a bisexual toaster, 10 out of 10. Ew, heterosexuality, 6 out of 10. What happened to you, PC Gamer? Out of Touch doesn't even begin to describe this review. You Fruit Baskets gave Dragon Age the Veilguard a 79, but you give Stellar Blade a 78. It just goes to show that all they're really worried about is propping up content that pushes a narrative that they personally agree with. They're not actually willing to look at a game and point out what is good and bad about it objectively. They're just sitting here trying to prop up games from developers that they personally support and who they believe are making waves in the industry for what they've deemed as positive. You're seething hard, and the game is a success and will get a sequel not because of, but in spite of your ilk. It looks amazing, but it's too anime for me. And hey, not every single game is going to be for every single person, but I don't think you're sitting here saying, oh my god, this game's only successful because of gooners, and then you're going and gooning for another game in a fucking article. The fact y'all score Dragon Age the Veilguard higher is absolutely crazy. Kitchen appliances are hot, though. 10 out of 10. So I'm sure we're going to continue to see quite a few different articles like this over the next couple of days. They've already kind of given up with attacking Stellar Blade for the most part, just because they realize the gamers are not listening to them. But with the release of Date Everything, I'm sure we're going to see a bunch more simp pieces. Though that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.